With the selection of a jury in the Sean Diddy Combs case almost complete, prosecutors are preparing for opening arguments on Monday. But they admit there's a snag. One of their key witnesses against the rapper appears to have gone missing. This comes as we learn that Combs' ex-girlfriend, who was seen on video being assaulted by the rapper, is pregnant.
It was supposed to be one of the biggest trials the music industry had ever seen. A federal case aimed squarely at Sean Diddy Combs, packed with allegations that could end his career, and possibly his freedom. But just as things were heating up in court, something unexpected happened. One of the prosecution's key witnesses, known only as Victim 3, vanished. No warning, no explanation, just gone. No texts, no calls, no sign of her anywhere. And just like that, everything changed.
On Diddy Combs' trial backing out, victim number 3, as she's called, was set to testify against the music mogul. The name of victim number 3 was going to be revealed when she took the stand, but the woman has apparently gone missing, and prosecutors say they've been unable to reach her.
People just get nervous, and this person could just be nervous and just has had second thoughts.
If the prosecutor can't find this witness, how might it affect the case?
Look, I don't think it's going to have a tremendous effect. The prosecution is going to call a number of alleged victims. So look, this is just one less.
Someone else is also getting cold feet. A juror sent an email to the judge asking to be removed from the panel for issues of personal well-being.
Now, this wasn't some minor witness meant to fill in gaps. Prosecutors were counting on her. She was supposed to help connect the dots in a story that spans years of alleged abuse, manipulation, and behind-the-scenes control. Without her, the government's entire narrative wobbled. And for a trial that was already under a national spotlight, this wasn't just a twist. It was a full-on derailment. According to court records, Victim 3 was fully cooperative. Until she wasn't. Just days before opening arguments, she went dark. No calls answered, no replies to her legal team, nothing. Prosecutors were blindsided. They didn't just lose a witness, they lost one of their strongest links in a case built on patterns, behavior, and a growing number of disturbing claims. Almost immediately, whispers began to spread. Was this just cold feet, or was something more sinister at play?
Well, I mean, on the surface, if the prosecutor's claims are true, this seems like pretty much textbook witness tampering, right? I mean, it appears to be an effort to either, in some cases, intimidate witnesses from testifying against him, or there have been other reports of sort of inducing people to make statements in his defense. There was some allegation that in one instance this was a statement that he, in essence, dictated or drafted with a woman who made a statement that was attempting to rebut one of the accusers, I believe, in a civil case against him. I mean, witness tampering is bad. The things that Sean Combs is accused of are terrible. He pleads his innocence. The justice system will presumably work its way through.
Some began to speculate about witness intimidation. Others leaned towards psychological pressure. And a few raised eyebrows at the timing. The defense naturally brushed it off as coincidence. But legal analysts weren't convinced. In high-profile cases like this, sudden disappearances don't just raise questions. They raise alarms. Then, things got even weirder. One of the jurors asked to be excused before the trial even started, citing anxiety over media attention and the explosive nature of the case. With jury selection stalling and key testimony missing, both sides were scrambling. One thing was clear, this case wasn't going to be simple. Behind the headlines, this trial isn't just about one person, it's about the machinery of fame, money, and power, and how those things can be used to cover up something much darker. Prosecutors allege that Diddy didn't operate alone, but instead built an entire system, an empire, designed to hide his actions in plain sight. At the center of it all, Bad Boy Entertainment. What the world saw as a music label was, according to the government, also a front for control, coercion, and exploitation. They claim Diddy orchestrated events known as freak-offs, private, drug-fueled parties where women were allegedly pressured into sexual acts. These weren't casual accusations. One former associate, Jean Deal, testified that she overheard Diddy planning to drug and pimp out members of a girl group. This wasn't tabloid gossip, it was under oath.
These testimonies are going to be extremely important. Building a case against someone as high profile as Diddy is not an easy job. So I'm going to bring in former FBI agent Bobby Chacon to talk more about this. So off the bat, Bobby, how do you build a case against a celebrity as well-resourced, and powerful as Diddy?
Well, it takes a lot, Sylvia, as you know, because the allegations in this case range from like 2004 to 2024. So this is going to be going on for 20 years, and they're finally getting around to charging him now and trying now. That's because it's so difficult to get people who are not afraid to come forward. This person was powerful. They were rich. They had a lot of influence. They were allegedly violent. So all of those things add up to making it very difficult for investigators to get people to talk to them about these. You add in the fact that many of these things are embarrassing. They're of a sexual nature. They're private. They take place behind closed doors.
And this is where the case started to crack open for the public. Because the stories weren't just shocking, they were methodical. Repeated patterns, similar setups, same environments. Prosecutors argued this wasn't about isolated incidents. It was about a system built to protect him and silence everyone else. Once the prosecutors laid out their theory of the so-called empire, they moved to the part that made people's jaws drop. The evidence. This wasn't just hearsay or vague allegations. There were recordings, there were photos, there was surveillance footage, and perhaps most disturbing of all, there were the freak-off tapes, videos allegedly showing what happened behind closed doors at Diddy's parties. The defense tried hard to get them thrown out, arguing illegal search and invasion of privacy, but Judge Arun Subramanian didn't agree. The tape stayed in. Along with the footage, federal agents also seized items from hotel rooms, things like digital records, drug paraphernalia, and even personal objects allegedly used during these parties. Some of it came directly from Diddy's iCloud account. Prosecutors claimed it painted a clear picture of control, manipulation, and a consistent pattern of behavior. Meanwhile, Jean Deal's testimony became even more important. She wasn't just talking about wild parties, she was describing a playbook, one that allegedly involved drugs, intimidation, and grooming. Her words added weight to the physical evidence and helped explain what prosecutors believed those videos showed.
Because I heard him, and I'm giving you this, Aubrey. He stood up there and he said, in front of a lot of people, we were in the studio, and I said something to him and walked out the studio. He said, yo, I'm gonna drug their ass off and pick them up and pip them out to my nigga. He said, I'm gonna drug them out. I'm gonna get them all on drugs, and I'm gonna pimp their ass out to my nigga. And I was like, there's somebody kids, and walked out. And it's somebody that heard me. It's somebody that heard me. I mean, well, it's not only somebody that heard me, it's somebody that I know who was in the studio at the time that happened, and I still talk to him today.
All of it was building toward a case that wasn't just shocking, it was systematic. But even with all this, it was a familiar face who brought the biggest emotional punch. For years, Cassie Ventura stayed quiet. The singer and model was once Diddy's longtime girlfriend, often seen by his side in public. But behind closed doors, according to court documents, things were very different. Now she's stepping into the spotlight again, not as a celebrity, but as a key witness. And this time, it's personal. Cassie isn't hiding behind anonymity, she's testifying under her real name, and her story could change everything. The prosecution believes her testimony could be one of the most powerful moments in the entire trial. Why? Because unlike some other accusers, Cassie has both credibility and visibility. She's not just alleging abuse, she's showing it. One piece of evidence includes surveillance footage from a hotel, capturing what prosecutors describe as a violent altercation between her and Diddy. She's also reportedly pregnant now, something prosecutors are using to highlight her emotional and physical vulnerability, possibly to humanize her even further in the eyes of the jury. Diddy, for his part, denies all of it. His legal team insists their relationship was consensual, and that any rough moments are being twisted to fit a narrative. He's refused every plea deal so far, even one that allegedly would have landed him just 10 to 15 years behind bars. That choice has raised eyebrows. Is it confidence, or is it fear of what a guilty plea would expose?
Because if he think he's gonna get out of this from the federal government, he out his mind. They in the process of plea bargaining, trying to do a plea bargain session with him, and he not taking it. That's probably why one of the lawyers jumped off the case. Remember Benjamin Bradford, his first lawyer with the Cassie situation? He said, give her the 10 million and make this go away, brother. He ended up giving her 30 million. He's not taking the lawyer's advice. 9 times out of 10, they probably got him a good plea bargain. Yo, listen to me, we can give you 15 years. 10 or 15 years. You do that, you come out, you only have to do like 12, 13. Come off to a halfway house. You still can live some of your life out as a free man. The federal government do not want to go to court. 9 times out of 10, they want a plea bargain with you. You understand? You accept the plea, you accept the time, you go ahead, you save the government money, you save them time and effort and manpower. If you don't believe that that white guy was a plant, then something is wrong with you. He done sold them enough drugs, but they haven't hit him with that charge. They haven't did him with that charge yet, or that we know of. If you don't believe that they're gonna try to hit him with those guns in there, they saving all that for last. The drugs, the guns. They'll do another superseding indictment and add those two up if he don't take the plea. If he don't take the plea bargain to the sex trafficking or whatever, stuff like that, they're gonna say, okay, let's add the guns to it and let's add the drugs to it.
And while the courtroom braced for Cassie's testimony, outside those walls, the floodgates were just beginning to open. As the trial gained momentum, the story began to snowball. What started with a few brave accusers suddenly became a tidal wave. Attorney Andrew Van Arsdale, representing a growing number of alleged victims, revealed that his law center had received over 27,000 calls since the case broke. Out of those, nearly 400 were considered credible enough to potentially lead to formal claims. Right now, he's representing 37 clients, but he says many more are too scared to come forward or are already speaking directly to federal agents behind the scenes. This wasn't just a courtroom battle anymore. It was beginning to look like one of the most expansive celebrity abuse investigations in recent history. And it didn't stop, with legal documents reportedly mention high-profile figures like Jay-Z, Beyonce, LeBron James, and Gloria Estefan not as perpetrators, but as individuals who may have witnessed or heard about what was happening at these so-called freak-offs. The implication wasn't guilt, it was proximity, the kind that makes people wonder, how much did they know?
Here is the kicker. Quote, high-profile individuals, including Jacob Arabo, Jay-Z, Gloria Estefan, LeBron James, and Beyonce Knowles Carter, are identified as witnesses due to their presence or knowledge of the events surrounding the freak-off orchestrated by defendant Diddy. Wow. And freak-off, of course, is something that we've heard many times before, both in Combs' criminal case and other civil cases, to describe these prolonged sexual episodes, usually with sex workers. But Manzaro is suing Sean Combs. He is suing a man named Eric Mejias. He is suing Brendan Paul, who's been described in another lawsuit as Sean Combs' drug mule, Emilio Estefan, who is married to pop superstar Gloria Estefan, and Adria English, who filed her own lawsuit against Sean Combs, claiming she too was a victim of sex trafficking. By the way, it's interesting he's not suing these other celebrities that I mentioned, like Jay-Z and Beyonce and Gloria Estefan, possibly because he doesn't believe their alleged liability amounted to a civil claim, but seems to want to call them as witnesses at a trial, although I have to imagine they will do everything in their power to quash any subpoena should this case progress, and we'll talk a little bit more about whether or not it will. The allegations implicate dozens of unidentified witnesses and alleged co-conspirators around the world, and some of the key witnesses to the supposed incidents are dead, basically meaning how can we defend against it? The defense is not even permitted to share the identities of the individuals described in the disclosure letter with Mr. Combs until April 18th, further hampering defense counsel's ability to investigate. Collectively, these new allegations require many months, if not years, to investigate, and if admitted, would require a series of mini-trials certain to double the length of a trial the government originally said would last 3 weeks. So this is an explosive allegation that on its face, I don't know if I necessarily disagree with. If they are bringing in evidence of uncharged conduct, wouldn't the defense have an opportunity to investigate it and challenge it? It seems like they're making a point. So if this evidence is allowed in, there is a chance this could delay the trial significantly. We all know Combs wants to go to trial, but how can he properly defend himself against this in just a few weeks?
The public was watching closely. Rumors swirled, reputations trembled. And for Diddy, what had started as a legal problem was now a full-blown PR disaster. But his legal team wasn't backing down just yet. With mounting pressure and public perception shifting by the day, Diddy's legal team went on the offensive. Their strategy? Undermine the credibility of the accusers, question the legality of the evidence, and push back hard against the emotional weight of the case. They filed multiple motions to have key pieces of evidence thrown out, including the so-called freak-off tapes, as well as items seized from Diddy's iCloud and hotel rooms. They even tried to exclude something as specific as baby oil, claiming it had no relevance. But Judge Subramanian wasn't convinced. He ruled the searches were legal, and the evidence would stand. Then came a riskier move. The defense started to paint women like Cassie not as victims, but as willing participants. They argued that what happened behind closed doors was consensual, not criminal. But legal experts warned that this could backfire. Trying to discredit someone like Cassie, who's been in the public eye for years and is now visibly pregnant, could easily tip the jury's sympathy in the prosecution's favor, especially in a trial already soaked in accusations of manipulation and power imbalance. At the same time, 2 civil lawsuits connected to the case were quietly dropped. One was tied to a witness whose anonymity couldn't be maintained. The other unraveled after inconsistencies in the filing came to light. The defense seized on these moments, calling them proof that the case was overblown. But Van Arsdale was quick to respond. He said these drops were distractions, not victories. If anything, they were just speed bumps. He insisted that more lawsuits were coming. Some of his clients, he claimed, were already working hand in hand with federal agents, preparing to testify in criminal court. And just like that, the stakes were raised again. By this point, the trial wasn't just about Diddy anymore. It had become a mirror held up to the entire entertainment industry, one that reflected power, privilege, and the dark places people rarely talk about. With victim 3 still missing, the prosecution's case had holes. But those holes were now filled with suspicion. If the government can prove she disappeared under pressure, or worse, because of active interference, that alone could trigger charges of witness tampering or obstruction, and that would change the entire game. The courtroom, once buzzing with reporters and legal analysts, now felt heavier. Like everyone knew that something bigger was unraveling, something that could stretch far beyond one man. Diddy, who once stood at the top of the music world as a cultural icon and business powerhouse, now finds himself surrounded by a growing storm of criminal allegations, federal scrutiny, and public outrage if prosecutors manage to tie everything together. If they show a pattern of abuse, coercion, and calculated silence, the consequences won't just be career-ending. They could be life-altering. And victim 3, her silence may be the most powerful statement yet. Whether she was scared, pressured, or something worse happened to her, the mystery around her disappearance has already reshaped the trial. It's no longer just about proving guilt. It's about how far someone might go to keep the truth buried. If you think this story is wild, just wait. There's more coming. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next twist. And let me know in the comments, what do you think happened to victim 3?